Hi, guys. This is Carrie with Fullerton Professional Organizing, where we talk about decluttering our faith, decluttering our home, and decluttering our business. And I have a guest today who is also a professional organizer, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us how she started in her organizing business and her story, her journey. All right, go ahead.
My name is Amy Payne. I'm a certified professional organizer, and I used to be a professional organizer. I just sold my business last November, and now I actually work with professional organizers to help them implement systems and processes to organize their businesses.
Oh,
So,
that's neat. Awesome. All right, go
so I,
ahead. Tell us
yeah,
a bit more about that.
I had my organizing business for 13 and a half years. And so, how I got started in that was my husband and I moved 11 times the first 12 years we were married. And I had three kids in 3.5 years
Oh
during
my
that
God.
time.
Are you in the military? Or
No,
no?
no, just,
Usually.
change jobs and then from one apartment to another apartment and then a house or whatever.
Oh,
And then
okay,
moved
okay.
across the country and then same thing again. So it was a little bit chaotic to say the least. And I felt very overwhelmed and I had to learn how to get organized and how to manage my household and my children and schedules and moving and all that stuff. And people started to say, "Oh, you're so organized." And I'm like, "Me? I'm not organized. Who are you? You're talking to somebody behind me?" And so I started to recognize that I really enjoyed being organized. It brought me a lot of peace and comfort, and it felt like I was actually implementing some self-discipline, which had been a struggle for me over the years. And so I felt like it just felt good to be organized. And
Yeah.
so then I realized that you could get paid to help other people experience that same level of peace that I had experienced. And so I felt like that was what God was calling me to do. And I felt like that was kind of what I was made to be. It just felt like this is it. This is what I've never really known what I was going to be when I grew up, but it felt like this is it. This is what God wants me to do.
That's
So,
neat because
yeah.
people usually fall on, I mean, professional organizers usually fall on two different sides. One where they're not organized naturally, and therefore they teach themselves all of these things and they enjoy it and it brings them peace. And then on the other side, there are those that are naturally organized and find out also that they can get paid to help other people do what they already do naturally. And I fall on the other side where I wasn't naturally organized, but I had some ADHD and had to be organized. I had no choice, and then found that I enjoyed it.
I think when you come from the perspective of not being born organized, it gives you a level of compassion for your clients, though,
Mm.
because you can relate, you can understand, and even like, this is something I've struggled with, and let me help you, let me, disciple you along the way and help teach you what I've learned.
Yeah, and help them give themselves a little bit of grace and mercy, even though you're trying to take them to the next level.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's good.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
from the time I heard about organizing until I actually started my business was about 6 years because I had small children and we ended up moving again to a new state. And so it was a little while before. And I would say that's a time, one of the questions you asked was like, when did God ask you to take the leap of faith?
Uh-huh.
For me, that leap of faith was starting the business.
Yeah.
I talking about it, thinking about it, praying about it, planning for it for 6 years. And it got to the point where I was like, I need to either do it or stop talking about it.
Yeah. Because there's a need, but will
Right,
they call you
right,
while you're trying to pay the bills?
right. And in my area, I was one of the first professional organizers in the area. So it was a little bit risky to think, is this business even sustainable in this area?
Mm, yeah, yeah. Well, there's not very many in my area, so I'm very fortunate that, yeah, well, it's working. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
People are calling me and I'm making a living doing it, so it's good. Oh, that's so interesting. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? All right. What is something that people believe about organizers, or what is something that people believe, yeah, about organizers that isn't necessarily true?
Well, I think one thing we just talked about is they think all the organizers were born organized and came out of the womb sorting their toys by color and size. And I think that's just not true.
Yeah.
Another thing that I don't think people really think about is that organizers have struggles of their own.
Yes.
Just like everybody, just because we're good at organizing
Mhm.
doesn't mean every area of our lives is perfect.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a misconception. And the way I like to describe it is like, I'm not good at math. My
Mhm.
accountant is really good at math. So I hire him to help me with my accounting, where I might be really good at organizing, and maybe I get hired to help somebody else with organizing. So if each person works in their strengths and in their calling, then we all help each other, and not one person doesn't have to be good at everything.
Right. Yeah,
But
that's
just because I'm good at organizing doesn't mean I'm a better person than you, or that I'm superior or amazing or whatever. It doesn't mean that. It just means I have a talent or an ability or a skill in an area that you don't have.
yeah,
And you probably have one that I don't have.
yeah,
So,
that's awesome. Now tell me a little bit about what you're doing now. You sold your organizing business. Tell us, because hopefully, your local, if you share this, your local area is, well, other organizers might be watching this podcast and need to know what you're gonna say. I keep wanting to say locally in my area and locally in your area, but this goes out further than just locally. So,
right. And the business that I sold is still thriving in my area, and I'd be happy to send business their way as well.
yes, awesome.
So now what I'm doing is as I grew my business, as I grew a team, I realized the importance of having good processes and systems within my business,
Mhm.
including technology systems. And
Mm.
I began to uncover a passion that I didn't know existed for setting up and implementing technology systems. So now I work with other small service business owners,
Mhm.
primarily professional organizers,
But
to
not just organizers, right? Is
not
what you
not
do
just
something you can do for other businesses as well?
correct. At this point, about 75% of my clients are other professional organizers,
Mhm.
because they get that level of understanding. I fully understand the industry and the business, but
Mhm.
I do work with other types of businesses as well.
Oh,
So helping that business owner define, what are my processes? Like, what do I do when I get a new lead, or when I finish a project, or how do I want to
build a
manage
team.
my marketing or whatever? And I help them with their business processes and then their tech systems, primarily customer relationship management software.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, and you can probably help them if they're ready to start a team. You can kind of guide them on that level as well. Yeah,
Yes.
because I almost started a team last year, but I didn't quite wasn't quite ready for that. I did raise my prices and thought, that would help until I'm ready to start a team.
I
Now, what are some things that you help other businesses with? Because I get the organizational side and the organizational business side. But what if some other small business needed help? What is it that you help small businesses with that are separate from organizing businesses? I don't know what I'm asking. But
So
what can you do for small businesses?
I
if
really
they're not
focus,
organizing?
yeah, I focus exclusively on the software technology
Mm,
setup side. So for example, if a small business is using an @Gmail account, I can
okay.
help them get a Google Workspace, figure out how to manage their calendar and their email and integrate it with a CRM system, and then set up automations or email marketing, all the different pieces, parts that come along with a CRM type system.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was getting at because I'm not techie.
Right?
Other than what I've had to learn. I can do a podcast as long as nothing goes too terribly wrong. Um, I've got my marketing. I think I've got my marketing down, but a lot of people do struggle with creating their marketing and stuff like that. Now, do you suggest for organizers to use Canva and stuff like that for their marketing their business?
Yeah, Canva is a wonderful program. It's kind of a beginner or a basic graphic design program that almost anybody can use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice starting point for sure.
Do organizers come to you for that? Do you guide them in that area, or you let
I
someone
don't
else take?
do I don't do the marketing, like I don't help them create their marketing plan and that sort of thing. Usually a marketing professional would help them with that piece.
Oh, okay, okay. Just trying to figure
Yeah.
out exactly where your talents and skills are. That's awesome. All right. And now, in your personal life now, where, and when I say personal, it doesn't mean that where are you the most organized and where are you the least organized? I don't know why I'm stumbling over all of my questions today, but anyway.
Well, now that my children have left the house, I feel like I'm keeping up with everything pretty well as far as the habits and routines around, general home upkeep. My husband and I downsized, and I feel like that's an area. I don't live as a minimalist, but I definitely don't keep a lot of excess. I'm
Mhm,
really good about getting rid of things
mhm,
quickly when
mhm,
I decide that those things no longer serve me. So I would
mhm.
say that's an area where I can maintain things pretty well and pretty easily. When I had three little boys at home, not so much. It was a
And
little
how old
harder.
are they now?
They are young adults, so 22, 24, and 25.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where I am, except I do have one that's moved back in.
Okay.
But
Happens.
yeah, things are a lot easier when your kids have grown up. And
Right.
that's another thing I try to tell my moms, look, you're in a season where mom comes first. You're going to have a little bit of chaos. There's no judgment there. It gets better from season to season, and they have to give themselves some grace.
I think that's absolutely true. I mean, the thing that saved me was having positive habits and routines. And I like to utilize technology to do that. Like I'm using an app on my phone called Streaks, and it reminds me of each of the things I said that I wanted to do on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, like what
Oh,
my
well, tell
goal.
us a little bit about that because I don't think I've heard of streaks.
It's you put in what you're wanting to accomplish and the frequency, and then you just hold it and it completes the circle, and then it keeps track of your streaks for you. So it's just a motivator to help you keep track of what your habits that you're trying to track.
Okay, so you tell it some habits.
Right. You input your habits and then you just kind of push and hold on it, and it completes the circle when you've done it for that day or that week or that month, and then you can look at the calendar and see your routine and your habits and your streaks.
Oh, is it kind of like Cozy? Are you familiar with Cozy?
I haven't used Cozy, so I'm not really sure.
Okay. Well, oh, anyway, we can talk about Cozy later, but I like Cozy just because now that I mentioned it, I have to at least say something. You can actually even send tasks to your family members through Cozy if you have a system that you want to use. It's not necessarily habits, but anything that you want to delegate to your family.
Yeah, this is just a personal habit tracker app.
Well, do you have an area that you struggle with in organizing?
I think that my area that I struggle with the most is the kind of all or nothing attitude of either I'm
Mm,
on target and I'm doing my streaks and everything's going great, or I fell off the wagon completely.
yeah.
And so there's actually a Latin phrase that I'm gonna butcher, but it's a Latin phrase, and I put it on a post-it note right here on my computer, right in front of me, and it's nunc coepi, I think is how you say it. And what that means is basically begin again. And so it's a reminder to me that, you fall down, you get back up. You fail, you start again. Like it's just this concept that you start over. Just start over. You don't have to wait until the next day. You don't have to wait until the next week, the next month, or the next year. You
No.
just begin again. Start
Yeah,
again.
I think a lot of times people are afraid to fail or afraid to make mistakes. Maybe not, maybe fail is a real harsh words, but afraid to make a mistake, afraid to do, but there's always tomorrow. I
Yeah.
mean, as long as we're, progressing. My thing is progress over perfection. But
Right.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's kind of that concept of you're gonna make mistakes or you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss a streak, heaven forbid.
Yeah.
You break your habit for one day, but then you can't just let it completely die. You have to get up and start over again.
Right. Just because you missed a habit for one day does not make you a failure. I guess
Right.
that's the point I was trying to make. Yeah, I mean, you can start again. That's true. Um, yeah, that can be related to any area of our life, right? If we're
Right.
trying to diet and we, all of those things that we try to do that we struggle with. Yeah, that's good. All right, now a little bit on the light-hearted side. If you were stranded on a desert island, and I don't even know if I gave you the heads up on this one, but what would be the three things that you couldn't live without?
Wow. Let's see.
Just a fun
Okay.
question.
I mean, would it be people or just
Whatever comes to your mind, because there's really no right or wrong answer. We're not on a desert island, so it's just something fun to think about.
I mean, I would probably say my family and my dog and my phone because with my phone, not that I'm obsessed with my phone as much, but because it's a tool. Like
Yeah.
it has my Bible on there. It has my connection to the outside world on there. So I
Books.
think
Yeah, it has
yeah,
just
it has books, it
everything,
has
doesn't
games,
it?
it has all the things. So I think because it's a Swiss Army knife tool, I would say my phone in that way. It has
Yeah,
a flashlight.
that's actually the reason I like that question, because you know what? I never thought of that, because in my mind I was thinking, what, I definitely have to have something to read. I definitely would have to have my Bible. But when you take your phone, it has all of that, as
Right.
long as the deserted island is close to some Wi-Fi or
And a solar power bank, maybe.
something.
I
Uh,
guess I would need a swimsuit. I don't know. I'm getting way more than three. Like I said, I'm not a minimalist.
I know. I think it would be horrifying to have to even though we're organizers, to diminish everything down to just 3 items would be yeah,
Very
that would be hard for even us, right?
yes, yes, it would.
All right. Now, is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you would like your audience to know about you and what you do?
I don't think necessarily my audience. I
Mhm,
think just I think the lesson that I've learned through this journey,
mhm,
through moving a bunch, having children, starting a business, selling a business, having another business, I think that the life lesson that I've learned is to focus on God,
mhm,
trust Him, and ask Him to lead and guide you.
mhm,
Because just because you make a decision doesn't mean that that's your permanent forever decision.
mhm,
If God is leading you and guiding you, like each of the moves that we made, we felt very clearly that that was what God was telling us to do. When I started my business, I felt like that was a very clear sign. When
mhm,
I went to sell my business, I felt like I wanted to for a couple of years, but I didn't feel really released from that calling yet. And so, no matter where you are in your life and what you're doing, if you're listening to God, and you're focused on obeying, He's going to bless you and
mhm.
He's going to lead you and He's going to guide you. And it's so much more rewarding to follow His journey than
Yes.
be set in your like 5 year and 10 year goals and go your own way. I would much rather flow with what God's telling me to do than to be rigid and miss it altogether. And it's been a very rewarding journey, challenging, very
Mhm.
challenging, but also very rewarding just by listening and obeying.
Oh, good. Yeah. So true. So true. Yeah, especially in this season that I'm in with my business. I'm in a place where I have come to completely trust him in every aspect of my life. Now another question, what if a professional organizer is thinking about starting their business and they have not started yet, or even a small business that is not a professional organizer wanting to start their business but haven't yet, what is some advice now that you've done all the things that you've done? What could you tell people that are wanting to start a business?
So many things.
Well, we've got a little bit of time. It hasn't even given me a 10-minute warning, so we've got a little time.
I think that a couple of things would just be to build from where you are. So start out, don't feel like you have to take out loans. I guess it depends totally on what kind of business you're in, but
Mhm,
try not to take on debt, but earn money and then spend it as you earn it and make sure that you're starting the right way. So that means setting up your business properly legally, financially, and then one of the big lessons that I learned along the way of owning a business as well is how to treat myself.
mhm,
I was, I told myself I was not treating my business as a hobby.
mhm,
However, I was not paying myself like it was a legitimate career. I was paying
mhm,
myself like it was a hobby.
mhm,
And so at one point I had hired an employee and I realized I was paying her more than I was paying myself and she was
mhm,
working half the hours that I was.
mhm.
And so I realized that if I'm going to continue and not get burned out, I have to treat myself well also. I
Yes,
have to treat myself the way I would treat others. It was like the reverse, treat others the way you treat yourself, except I needed to treat myself better. And
yeah,
so I set up a retirement account and I started actually paying myself closer to what I was worth, and started to then understand the value of what I was providing for the company. You can't just sacrifice yourself or your family with no reward whatsoever. Like, you're not running a charity, you're running a business.
Right. And where do you think that comes from when we start our business? Because I was there too, not with this business, but another business that I had for 20 something years. I finally had to, of course, learn that over time. But where do you think those beginning thoughts come from when you do that to yourself?
I think for me, it came from this business being a ministry. I understood the value and how I could help other people, but it didn't sink in with me that I was doing a disservice to my own children or my own family by sacrificing myself for others, for strangers.
Mhm.
And so I think I just had to come around and realize that, like, just because I'm making money off of it doesn't mean it's selfish. It
Yes.
was a mindset around money,
Yeah.
and understanding that it's not selfish at all to try to provide for your children or provide for your family. And that's what God designed work to do. He
Mhm.
designed work and employment and careers for us to be able to provide for our families. And
Right.
that's not selfish at all. And so you can serve others and still serve your own family at the same time.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I have a local business connection for Christian women in business, and I have a Facebook group, and this video is definitely gonna be on that group for them to listen to because it's so important. Yeah, just because we're a Christian business and we want to help people doesn't mean that we aren't allowed to make the money that other people make. I mean, now we're not talking about, price gouging. We're talking about just regular living and making, what the norm is for this business, you know.
Right. If I had been a single mom, I would have never been able to get away with paying myself too little. Like, you would say,
Right.
"Oh, my children aren't going to starve." And so why, just because my husband has income, should I also not make any money doing this?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Awesome. All right. Well, I did get that little 10-minute warning. So now just tell the audience if they needed a professional, I almost said organizer, but you sold that business. Just tell us what the name of your business is and how they can reach you if they need what you have.
sure. It's called Purposeful, Full, Tech Solutions, and it's purposefultechsolutions.com. And I do work with small businesses to help them implement technology systems.
Mhm.
And they can find me online. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel, but no videos yet. When I sold my business, I actually split the business. And I've been doing this consulting work for the last 5 or 6 years, but I had to rebrand and recreate all new um,
Mhm.
channels for everything. So I don't have a lot of followers just yet, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You can find me online and then just reach out. So,
Awesome. Yes. And she's going to send me all of that information so I can put it in the description for the video and for the podcast. So, all right. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. Sorry, I was kind of all over the place. But I appreciate you and being a guest. Thank you
well,
so
thanks
much.
for having me.
And we'll
Thanks.
talk about things later.
Okay.
All right, bye.